Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Mad Max Live. My name is Daniel Tyree and I'm the executive director of the People's Party of Canada. But tonight I am your host. We have another exciting episode ahead of us. We'll be discussing some important topics such as this week's interest rate hike, touching on the new federal budget with a focus on housing, as well as discussing COVID-19 with a focus on the impacts of lockdowns. But before we get into that, I do want to do some general housekeeping. As a reminder, Mad Max Live is a bi weekly live stream hosted by Mad Max and myself. We discuss current events, have interesting guests, and give you an update on what's going on in the PPC. We're currently streaming on all of our social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, uh, Rumble, Odyssey. If you can take a moment to interact with this video, leave a comment, share, retweet. However, you can interact with this platform, please do so. It helps us extend our reach and get around the censors at these different social media platforms. If you could also take a moment and navigate over to those pro free speech platforms like Rumble and Odyssey, that would be much appreciated. Our time is limited on some of these more traditional social medias. So if you want to follow our content, it's best to migrate over to there to Rumble or Odyssey. But the best thing that you can do is to go right to our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, and sign up for our email list. Become a member of the party. Make a small donation. Even a buck or two helps a lot. So if you could take some time, interact with us on social media, on our website, that would be much appreciated. But without much further ado, let's bring on the star of the show, Mad Max himself.
Hello, Danielle. Nice to be with you.
How are you doing tonight, Maxim?
Great, great. Thank you very much. I like what we are doing, and I know that we have more and more people that are following us. So that's a good news.
Yeah, and more exciting things to come. But we're heading right into an Easter weekend. Do you have any plans?
Yeah, actually, I'll be with my family, with my daughters, with my dad, my mom, and we'll be at a sugar shack, in Quebec, in my former riding of Beauce. I will be there Sunday, and yeah, that's always fun to be with our family during Easter, and that's what I will do. What about you, Daniel? Are you staying in Ottawa?
Yeah, I'll stay in Ottawa. I'll try and get some work done. The grind never stops.
Don't forget to take some time for yourself.
Yeah. I'll try and relax, have some dinner with the coworkers, but work to be done. But before we dive into some of our other topics, I do want to discuss the kind of the news of the day. I didn't mention this at the top of the show, but probably the most interesting happening in world news today is Elon Musk has put in a bid to buy Twitter. After becoming the largest shareholder, I believe it was last week, purchasing just under 10% of the company. Elon put a bid in to buy the entire company earlier today. What did you think about this news, Maxim?
First of all, it is a good news because he is for freedom of speech, and he said that he wants to be sure that Twitter will respect the freedom of speech of everybody. Now, as you know, we and myself, we are shadow banned on Twitter recently. We don't grow like we used to. But I hope that Twitter will become a real free platform where we can have debates. When you now it's only if the people at Twitter don't like what you are saying, they will shadow ban you, or you'll be censored. So it's a good news. It's a good news for people believing in free speech and in freedom. And I hope that will go ahead. I don't know. We'll see. I know that it will be other person may be interested also. So it will be interesting to watch.
Yeah, just throughout today, we've had some more interesting developments. I believe we saw an investment for Vanguard purchase 10% of the company and become the new largest shareholder. And even the Wall Street Journal was reporting earlier today that the American government started all sorts of investigations into Tesla, so one of Elon's other companies. So it does seem like the establishment is mobilizing against this move from Elon Musk. It'll be interesting to watch over the coming days and weeks.
Yeah. But he's a successful businessman, and I really hope that he will be able to take control of Twitter. We'll see, but actually, it is interesting, and looking at the establishment that they are trying to block him. Now that the only thing that they want to do is to promote their narrative, and only what they believe in, and they don't want to have any discussion or debates, and that's a real problem in our society right now.
Yeah, it's really exposed the kind of the establishment's motives around Twitter. It's really the modern public square, and it's important that free speech is maintained and censorship is curbed. So I'm hopeful, but we'll see what happens. Big moves even happening in the last few hours.
Yeah.
Um, but let's shift focus back to Canada. Earlier this week, this has been almost a recurring segment every show, every other show. The Bank of Canada has yet again increased the interest rate in order to counteract some the increasing inflation that we've seen throughout this year. What do you think of this move from the central bank?
But first, uh, the Bank of Canada said that they're doing that to try to control inflation, but it won't work. It won't work. The official inflation rate in Canada, as you know, Danielle, is about the 5.7%. I believe the real inflation, the day-to-day inflation, when you do your grocery or you put gas in your car or you want to have housing and paying for a house or a place to stay, everything is going up, and I believe more than 5.7%. So what is happening right now is the bank increase their interest rate from 0.5% to 1%. But if they were serious, they will do more. They said that they will do more, but it's very different than in the 1970s. In the 1970s, the Bank of Canada and all other central banks raised interest rate to fight inflation. At that time, we had inflation around 10%, 12%. And to be successful to fight inflation, they had to raise the rates to 18, 20%. And that was efficient. I believe that today the Bank of Canada and the Fed also cannot do that because we are not in the same situation in the 1970s. We have huge debts, individual debts, family debts, corporation debts, government debts. It's a big bubble of debt. So if they're increasing the interest rate to really fight inflation, they will have to increase that by 6, 7, 8 points. And if they do that, we'll be in a recession and a lot of people will be bankrupt. But also, just imagine right now, the federal government is paying $24 billion every year only to pay the interest on our debt. So imagine if that increased by double from 1% to 2%, that will be huge. And right now, the interest payments on our debt represent one of the highest expenses for the budget. So it's money that we don't have. And I believe that the Bank of Canada is saying that and try to convince people that they are serious, they will fight inflation. But I believe that we have that inflation for a couple of years, like after the Second World War, we had inflation, and that's the only way that you can deal with that huge debt. But I believe we are paying, and Canadian workers and ordinary Canadians are paying the hidden inflation tax, indirect tax, 5.7%. Everybody is poor. So answering your question, Danielle, the Bank of Canada won't solve that. If they were serious, the government of Canada, the problem is the government of Canada, the Liberal government, they are spending money that we don't have, and the Bank of Canada has to buy our Canadian bonds. And doing that, they're creating money out of thin air. And the more money they create, the bigger our deficit is, the more the Bank of Canada will create money and the more inflation will have. So it's a tough time, but the bank won't solve that. You need to have the courage of your conviction and balancing the budget as soon as possible and stop spending money that you don't have.
Yeah, so you think the responsibility lies with the government to solve this problem, or the central bank?
The government actually. Look, the government spent what about $450 billion the last 2 years. That was the deficit, and the Bank of Canada financed that, and so they created money, and it's because of that that we have the inflation that we have right now. So the federal government and the minister Freeland, she put more oil on the inflationary fire by spending, and she created new programs, $50 billion of new programs, so more spending that will be financed by the Bank of Canada, and that will create inflation. So it's the government is always responsible for that.
Yeah. What do you think we can expect to happen next from the Bank of Canada? They've been slowly raising the interest rate, 0.25 here, 0.5 there. Do you think the interest rate will continue to climb?
I believe so, but yeah, like you said, 0.5, 0.25, but at 1%, they can increase the interest rate up to 3%, but it won't do anything when you have inflation at 5.7%. That's the official rate. you need to raise interest rates more than 5.7% to be able to fight inflation. And they won't be able to do that because they will create a recession. So they will try to convince the population that they're fighting inflation, but they are not. With the government also spending money that we don't have, it's always more and more money chasing fewer goods, and you have inflation.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, I do want to shift over to our next topic, which is kind of a more broad discussion on the budget that was delivered last week. But before we get into there, I do want to remind our viewers to interact with this video. Depending on what social media platform on, if you could like, share, retweet. Drop a comment in the chat. We will be taking questions at the end. Our producers are watching the chat even now. So if you have any questions for Mad Max, drop them in the chat now. We'll make sure to address them at the end of the show. As well, if you can follow us on whatever social media platform you're watching on, or jump over to some of those pro free speech pages, Rumble, Odyssey, that would be much appreciated. And take a moment, go to our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, check out our platform, become a member, sign up for our email list so you can stay apprised on what's going on with the PPC. So I do want to shift focus over to the budget. Last week, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland released the federal budget for 2022. Despite these record levels of inflation that we were discussing, there was very limited signals of fiscal restraint. In fact, as Maxim said earlier, there was $50 billion of new spending announced. The budget was wide-ranging, but I want to focus in on one of the more popular and controversial topics, which is housing. But before we get into that, I'm curious what some of your general thoughts are on this budget, Maxim. Do you have any thoughts or concerns you'd like to share with our viewers?
Yeah, actually, Danielle, it's a budget that does not respect the Constitution first. And all these new spending programs, the $50 billion of new programs, are actually in in provincial jurisdiction. And so they don't respect the Constitution, and they're spending money that we don't have. They're saying also to Canadians that they have a solution for the inflation when they don't have a solution for the inflation that we have right now. And remember, Danielle, it's we have not seen that prices so high in 40 years. So it's dramatic, and it's inflation is hidden tax, but also it's an unfair tax because workers and poor people are paying more because they have a tight budget, and what they're spending it's on essential items and food, housing, transportation, and prices went very up on that, more than 5.7%. And people who have assets, the rich people, their asset is going up. So that's a very bad tax that is hurting workers, and we are paying that tax right now. So the budget, like I said, is just adding more oil on this inflationary fires, and it won't solve anything. So it's just to try to do something, but what they're doing, it's not helping. We need to balance the budget as soon as possible, and that would be the only way to be able to fight the inflation.
Yeah. Inflation is a rather pernicious tax. It destroys the middle class, as you rightly pointed out. It benefits the elites and the super rich at the top, while really hitting the bottom line of average Canadians. But you mentioned at the start there that there was a lot of spending outside of federal jurisdiction. This is a bit more of a topic for maybe political insiders. I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that for some of our viewers that might not understand this concept.
Yeah, first, if you respect the Constitution, you won't spend money that you don't have. And Ottawa and the federal government, and also the Conservatives, they believe that the federal government can spend money into a provincial jurisdiction. They call that the spending power. But that spending power does not exist in the Constitution. The provincial government must be responsible for their own jurisdiction, and the federal government is supposed to be responsible for their own jurisdiction also. But that's not the case. They have new program on housing. They have new program at dental care. Dental health care, it's 100% a provincial jurisdiction. Housing, it's a provincial jurisdiction. So they will spend more than $10 billion in housing. They will spend another, I don't know, $5 billion in dental care. So that's a liberal NDP budget. That's a socialist budget. And that won't do anything for the economic growth or for a better future for Canadians.
Yeah. For our viewers that might not understand, Canada's a bit of a constitutional mess. A lot of the largest, most expensive programs are designated to the provincial powers. Things like education, things like healthcare. These are under provincial responsibilities to manage. But the federal government collects most of our tax dollars, collects most of the revenues, and is in charge of spending. So we end up with a bit of this jurisdictional mess where the governments that collect the funds are not responsible for the most expensive programs.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right, Daniel, about that. That's why we at the PPC we want to have a radical decentralization. So a smaller government in Ottawa that will respect the Constitution and will give the GST. All the money coming to the federal government with the GST must go to provinces. They will use the GST, they will have that money, they will have the money for their own responsibilities, for their own jurisdiction. So we don't want the provincial government every time to come at the federal level and ask always for more money. We want to give them the tool to be able to raise money by giving them the GST. So that's a big reform. And like that, the federal government will receive less money that we don't need for our own jurisdiction, and provinces would be able to have that money coming from the GST for their own jurisdiction, like healthcare, housing, pharmacare, daycare. So that's the solution. And but politicians in Ottawa, conservatives and liberals, they like to give you what you want, and they don't care about the future. They don't care about the Constitution. We care about the Constitution. We care about people. That's why we are the People's Party. We care about people. We care about our country. And we believe that, there's only one taxpayer. You at the provincial level, me and you, we are paying taxes at the federal level and at the municipal level, at the provincial levels. So we are paying taxes everywhere. So that's why we must lower our tax in Ottawa, balancing the budget, lower our tax, and let provinces to raise their taxes if they want for their own responsibilities.
Yeah. Actually, the PPC policy on healthcare is a very clever policy that's often misunderstood. Giving that autonomy back to provinces instead of the kind of complicated politicized situation that we currently see in Ottawa, where uh, during federal elections, parties make promises around healthcare, even though it's not their place to, and then end up politicizing the transfers with all sorts of conditions and stuff like this. No, the PPC would see the money go directly to the provinces so they can make decisions within their own economic means. It's
Absolutely.
clever, but often misunderstood. Go
And
ahead.
they know better, Daniel. They know better. The federal government does not manage one hospital, but at the provincial level, they are doing that. They know better than a politician in Ottawa. So let them manage their own healthcare system.
Yeah, excellent. So on that note, I do want to zero in onto housing. This has been a very popular topic in the opposition as well as in the government. Housing is a major area of concern for the general public. My generation in particular has a lot of anxieties about home ownership. It seems little more than a dream for many of us. Since Trudeau took office, we've seen the average house price skyrocket. It's more than doubled. And now the same government that created these problems is offering solutions. The new budget offered, what was it, $10 billion over 5 years in new housing programs, as well as a one-time $500 payment for people struggling to find housing. And finally, they're offering some sort of new tax-free savings account specifically for first-time homeowners. What do you think of these new solutions offered by the government outside of their jurisdiction, as you've already pointed out?
Yeah, first, outside their jurisdiction, yes, but also what the government is saying to Canadians. I care. I know it's important for you housing. I know that it's not affordable, and we care about that. We have a lot of programs to help you. That's their narrative. But the reality is it won't change anything. It won't solve the problem. And because all their programs, it's on the supply side, their supply and demand. And so they try to do that. But it won't it's like the finance minister. I don't know if you have that quote, Danielle, but she said something very interesting when she said, the population is growing. So that's why we have a challenge with housing, more and more people, and we have fewer houses. So she said that's mathematic, and she's right. The solution is on the demand side. We must, and now the federal government in their budget, they're increasing immigration by 550,000 people a year, 550,000 people a year. And it was 250,000 when I was a conservative in the Harper government. So more people, more immigration, that's not the solution. The solution is fewer immigrants, fewer people, and having a sustainable immigration system. That's the real solution. I don't know if you can show that quote from the finance minister.
Yeah, I do think we have it. Can we pull that up? The clip of Christia. You tweeted this out earlier this week. It's a fundamental fact of our population. I think we
There
can
are
play
a
the video.
lot of challenges with housing in Canada, and that's why our housing plan has a lot of different planks in it. But the most fundamental fact is our population is growing faster than our supply of housing. It's just a problem of numbers and of math. And as a country, we want to be a growing country. And it is great that we are a growing country. But in order to be a country that grows in a healthy, sustainable way, we just have to build more homes. And at its heart, that's what this plan is about.
Absolutely absurd. She just brings it up as a fact. Our populations are growing without mentioning that it's in their plan to ever increase immigration, which is a main driver of our population growth.
Absolutely, Daniel. That's why our population is growing a lot, 450,000 a year. It's and she admitted that. She said that, it's a problem. It's a fundamental problem. So if you want to solve that, you have a sustainable immigration and not mass immigration. That's mass immigration. Per capita, our country received more immigrants than a lot of other countries per capita. So we need to have a sustainable immigration and lower immigration. And so that's the position of the PPC. And if people want to know more about our proposal, they can go on our website, and our platform is there on immigration, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. So she has the solution, the real solution, but what she's implementing, it's just, words, and try to look good by saying that she has a solution. But everything that is in the budget won't solve anything. What she said about the population growing, and that's why we have a problem, that's the problem. And the solution is lower immigration.
Yeah, exactly. It's simply the government playing lip service to an issue that they know is popular. There's little the federal government can do. It's not in their jurisdiction, as you've already explained. The problems with supply are zoning issues, and they're complicated. And the problems with demand, they're simply not willing to address.
Yeah, and actually, Danielle, you know that Pierre Poilievre also has a solution, but the solution won't work, and it's just for telling people that he cares about that, but he does not care because he doesn't have a real solution.
Yeah. He's done a lot of talk on this issue. Nice words, nice videos, but has offered very little in the way of solutions. I think the most specifics we've heard out of him is something like incentivizing big city mayors to look at zoning laws and increase affordable housing. This is similar to what we were just discussing on healthcare. Making all sorts of promises outside of their jurisdiction, politicizing these transfers that are owed to the provinces to create solutions. How do you see that panning out?
Yeah, first, incentives, if you translate that, it's more money. You know, throwing more money at the problem, and you think that it will solve the problem. First of all, throwing more money into provincial jurisdiction, because housing, it's a provincial and municipal responsibility. So, first of all, and do you really believe that Ottawa know better than all the mayors across the country? And no, they don't. There's law at the provincial level, and mayor in big cities must do something. But they can, but it won't solve the problem. So what Pierre Poilievre is saying, I'm going to throw more money. We don't have money, so the Bank of Canada will print money. I will increase inflation, and I will solve the problem. So no, he's putting also more oil on the inflationary problem there, on the housing problem, because throwing more money at it when you don't have money, the Bank of Canada would create that out of thin air. That would create inflation. Prices would go up. It's not a solution. The solution is in front of us. It's written on the wall. Lower immigration. But Poilievre doesn't have the courage to say that because it's not popular. So what he's doing right now, it's a campaign only on buzzwords and try to please everybody, try to look like a real conservative, but he won't have the real policies that we need to implement. And he did the same thing also with pipelines. He said, I will build pipelines from east to the west, to the north, everywhere. I will build pipelines. It's easy to say that, but the question is, how will you do it? How? And the only way to do it is to use the Constitution, Section 9210, and to impose a pipeline on every province that are against that. But he doesn't have the courage to say that. He doesn't have the courage to bring that solution. So, yeah, Alper said the same thing also. I will build pipelines. I was part of that government, and we didn't build, when I'm saying we, the conservative government, didn't build any pipelines because they were afraid. They were afraid to unplease Quebec and some First Nations. You need to have the courage of your conviction. Yes, we at the PPC, we will build pipelines because we will use the Constitution and we'll have the full jurisdiction and nobody will be able to stop us. That's the solution. But Poilievre won't go there.
Yeah, it's nice to see Mad Max come out. It's one thing to say you're building pipelines when you're in a crowded area in Calgary. It's a very different thing to say so in French in Montreal and Quebec City. So we'll see. But even Poilievre, to shift back to housing, as he tries to talk a big game again on the supply side, he is similarly advocating for streamlining and expanding immigration. Yeah. This is a demand issue, as we'll continue to highlight. But the Conservative Party is more focused on voting blocks in crucial electoral battlegrounds around the big cities, in Toronto, in Vancouver, in Montreal. They're not focused on the real problems. They're focused on pandering and trying to expand their vote count, regardless of what's best for the Canadians.
Yeah, they're not doing politics based on principles. They're doing politics based on survey and focus group. And I can tell you that everything that Poilievre is saying right now, it's backed by a lot of focus group That's why he knows that it's popular, but he cannot speak about the solution, because the solution, usually when you have a problem, and the solution, sometimes it's not that popular. So that's why he's not speaking about real solution on everything.
But that's not leading. That's following. He's in the middle of a leadership contrast, not a followership one. So we'll see how that turns out. On that note, I do want to shift over to our final topic, but before we get into that, I do want to remind everyone to interact with this video, to drop a comment, drop a question right in the chat. Doesn't matter what social media platform you're on, Facebook, YouTube, so on. Our producers will see it and highlight it, and we'll get to it at the end of the episode. So if you have any questions for Mad Max, get them in the chat right now so we can get to them at the end of the episode. As well, if you can follow us on social media, regardless of where you're on, or jump onto a new social media. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, and most importantly, follow us on those other pro-free speech social media platforms, Rumble, Odyssey. We all know our days are numbered on these traditional social medias. That censorship hammer will come down on us eventually. We've already got multiple strikes on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, definitely go subscribe on Rumble. But most importantly, jump over to our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Become a member, sign up for that newsletter to keep up on what's going on in the PPC. We have some exciting news coming up in the coming weeks, in the coming months, and you'll only know about it if you're signed up for our newsletter there. And make a small donation. Even $1 or $2 helps a lot. We know it's tough times right now, but we're fighting against these problems, and we're growing, and we'll get there in the next election. So I do want to shift over to our final topic. I want to touch on COVID, as in specifically lockdowns. There was a report released earlier this week by the University of Chicago, reported on in the Washington Journal, focusing on lockdowns. It was the most comprehensive comparative study on this topic, although it was focused on the U.S. states, comparing different states' reactions in lockdown policies. And big surprise, no surprise to our followers, it found that comparing three particular factors: mortality rate, education, impacts on the economy, that lockdowns were not effective. The top performing states were all the ones that had the most lax lockdowns. I believe Florida, the most notable kind of state in this area, was sixth on their index. And all the bottom states were the ones that had the strictest lockdowns. What did you think about this report, Maxim?
Yeah, first, I'm very pleased that we can have the discussion about that study. It's a very comprehensive one. It's sad that you won't be able to know about that story, that study, in the mainstream media. They won't cover that. So that's why, like you said, it's important to follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and we are speaking about that. We are putting that story in front. And that's important, because I said that in the beginning of that pandemic. I said it's the first time in the history of the world that we are putting people, healthy people, and asking them to stay at home and lock down a society. It was the first time. It was an experiment, a failed experiment. And now we have the science on our side. After looking at all that happened the last 2 years, we know that lockdowns don't work, like we said. But when I said that in the beginning of the pandemic, people say, well, what are you saying, Bernier? No, we need to do lockdown. It's important. No. What we needed to do is to protect the most vulnerable people and the older people with comorbidities, and let open the economy and people do what they want to do. We're not in China, but we were like in China the last 2 years. And now look at what China is doing right now: more lockdowns and more curfew. So to try to have a zero COVID. I said that, we said that we need to learn to live with that virus. And that's the reality of life. Actually, that study is a very good one. and I hope that people can read it. It's about 20 pages. So, but like you said, in the States where they didn't do any lockdowns or small lockdowns, they did better in the economy and also education. Students where didn't lost a lot of days at school. The education system was more open, and also people who died from COVID, they died because they had also comorbidities, and the economy was more open. So that, we have the facts in front of us right now, and nobody can say now, we must do another lockdowns if next winter we have another COVID hysteria moment.
Yeah, and this was an important study, but it even misses a lot of nuance and the other impacts of lockdowns on people's mental health. Even looking at the mortality rate doesn't take into account things like canceled procedures and lack of things like cancer screenings and things that got missed in those areas. I hope to see more studies like this come out, in the States, around the world, and in Canada in particular.
Yeah. And it will show the same thing, Daniel. If we have another study in other countries looking at between countries that did lockdown or the one that did not do any lockdowns, I believe it will be the same kind of result.
I expect so. I mean, it wouldn't surprise our supporters that things like shutting down certain aisles in grocery stores and shutting down mom and pop shops instead of Walmarts and Costco's didn't do much to stop the spread. Absolutely absurd policy decisions. But also, despite increasing proof that COVID mandates have been ineffective, like this study, there are still many mandates in place. For example, the federal ban on the unvaccinated from flying. There's still many people in the federal public service that are being put on unpaid leave or being released from their positions for not being vaccinated or for refusing to disclose their vaccination status. Not to mention the rumors of provinces reintroducing mandates to deal with this so-called sixth wave. What do you think? What do you think about this? What do you have to say about this?
Oh my God! First of all, I hope the common sense will prevail, but the truth will win. And that was all about the truth. That study that we just spoke. But I believe that for Canadians, the most important is don't forget what happened the last 2 years. They were lying to you. They lied. They told you, when 75% of the population will be vaccinated, everything will be open. After that, they said 85% and 90%. And that was always lie. Mask is working, mask is not working. You must put a mask. In Quebec, actually, right now, we are the only jurisdiction in North America when we still have to wear a mask. And there's no pandemic anymore. It's so they were lying to us. And these draconian measures were against our constitution. We must remember what they did. And the federal government, the Trudeau government, had the support of the Conservatives. Every conservative members of parliament supported Justin Trudeau, including Pierre Poilievre. And now he's speaking about freedom. Yeah,
As soon as it becomes popular, right? As soon as the Freedom Convoy starts, a global movement pushing back against these mandates, then he's on side.
But you must judge a politician by his conviction. And, if you want to be a leader, you need to lead. And doing that is to inform the population, educate the population, having ideas and a vision for this country. And we have a vision for this country. We believe in people. We believe that you know better what is good for you than the federal government or a politician in Ottawa. We have faith in you. We have faith that you have the ability, the dignity, and the right to make your own decision and do what you want to do with your life. And so that's, believing in personal responsibility and individual freedom. So that's why we fought against these draconian measures since the beginning of that pandemic. And now it's popular and more politicians are speaking against that. I'm happy with it. I'm happy that we have more and more people on our side that's telling me that, we were right. So we must not forget that. And yes, you're right. Maybe they will want to come again with another lockdowns or imposing masks next winter. We must stand up and speak out for our rights like we did the last 2 years.
Yeah. It's they're quick to try and sweep it under the rug. Look, there's a war in Ukraine. Oh, go back to the movies. But democracy functions on the people, so we can't forget. We need to hold these corrupt politicians to account and remember what they did to us over the last few years. You actually wrote an excellent op-ed that was published over in the Counter Signal, Kian Bexty's website. I'd suggest everyone go check that out. It's a thorough kind of tearing down of this whole situation, highlighting all the things that we can't forget that these politicians did to us over the last few years. Do you have anything to add on that, Maxim?
Yeah, no, I was very pleased when um, they asked me to write an op-ed there. It's a little bit challenging for us to be in the mainstream media, but I'm always supporting the independent media, the alternative media, the media that don't receive any money from the government. And so I was pleased to write that. And yeah, you can see it's a kind of a little piece about what happened the last 2 years, and that we are paying for that right now with a loss of our freedom still. Like you just said in the beginning, if you want to travel across this country, you need to have 2 shots, and if not, you are in jail in your own country. We need to remember that. We need to remember that all the money that they spend, $450 billion, we are paying for it right now with that inflation at 5.7%. And so it was the last 2 years were very, very disastrous for us, for Canadians, for our economy, for our country. And we need to remember that, because we don't want that to happen again next time. Maybe that won't be a virus next time. It can be another thing, that they will impose lockdowns because of the environment. We must stop to drive cars, and so we must stay at home. We don't know. But what we know is when you have more freedom, you have usually people that are happier, and you have more productivity, you have more economic growth. And that's why we believe in people, and we don't like big fat government that would tell you what to do with your life.
Yeah, but that federal travel mandate won't stop you. We have some big plans coming up soon. You'll be hitting the road soon out east. Do you want to tell our viewers about those plans?
Yes, Daniel, I'm very pleased that I will be in a car and travel in Atlantic Canada and New Brunswick, PI, Nova Scotia. Actually, I won't go to Newfoundland because it's a 3 weeks trip over there. But I will be in Newfoundland when I will have the right to travel by plane. And I just want to say to our people over there, I will be with you as soon as I can travel by plane. I will go and I'll be with you on your island. So, but I'll be in Atlantic Canada the month of May, the first 3 weeks of May. And I'm very happy. And the goal is to meet our people, building our organization, EDAs, helping you, Daniel, as the executive director, to be sure that we have a good organization in every riding, and also try to find candidates. We want to be ready for the next election. And our goal is to have our candidates as soon as possible for them to be able to campaign and be ready for them also for the next election.
Should be a pretty fun road trip. Do you know what I'm most excited for?
What?
This will be your first stop in PEI since we started the party. It's been a long time requested. We've tried to go many times. Plans have fallen through, but this time we're going to do a bunch of stops around the island. I'm really looking forward to that.
And also, it's so nice, our country. And as you know, Daniel, I'm training right now for a marathon, and I will run almost every morning in a new place, and that would be fun. I'm a little bit tired to run around Montreal, and when I'm traveling Toronto or Ottawa, so that's always fun. And early in the morning, I will run and see a new place, a new area. So that would be interesting also. And if there are some runners over there, it will be public. And so if you want to run an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes with me outside, I'll be pleased to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so jealous. Uh, now we'll close things up. We'll take some questions. So drop your questions in the chat right now. We'll start taking them right now. As a reminder, if you can interact with this video, drop a comment, question, or just some positive words in the chat. Either help the algorithm, hit like, share, retweet, regardless of what platform you're on. If you can drop us a follow, jump over to another social media channel, follow us there, especially those pro free speech ones, Rumble, Odyssey. It's only a matter of time before the ban hammer drops down on us and we're removed from platforms like YouTube. So head over to Rumble, head over to Odyssey. You might not be familiar with them, but these are great companies that stand for free speech. But the best thing you can do is head over to our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, sign up for our email list, become a member. That's the best way to get involved, to stay apprised about what's going on in the PPC. And if you can spare it, make a small donation to the party. Even $1 or $2 helps us keep the lights on here at HQ. Now, let's dive right into the question period. Do we have any questions queued up, producer? Kevin Taylor asks on Facebook, Max, how does it feel to see Pierre stealing your entire platform? That's a good question.
First of all, I don't agree with that. He's not stealing our platform. He's speaking like us a little bit. But, he didn't say anything about the equalization formula, that it must be less generous and fair for every province. He didn't say anything about, like I said, housing, to have fewer immigrants. That's a solution. He didn't say anything about balancing the budget. It's all about more spending. Like he wants to give more money to municipalities for the housing challenges that we have. He's speaking like a real conservative. And look at his platform. Actually, you can go on his website and look. If you'll see only buzzwords, and you won't see any. And I want you to do that. I'm asking you to do that. What is his website, Daniel?
I think it's pierreforpm.ca, something like that.
Go there, pierreforpm.ca. Read that platform if you can. It will be 1 or 2 pages, and
There's
go
no
back
platform.
to the. Sorry, Daniel.
There's no platform. There's some buzzwords.
The buzzword, and look at our platform. So what he's saying, he knew that when I was speaking like that during the 2017 leadership, I had 49% of the vote. So it's popular speaking like a conservatives to conservatives. That's what I was doing, and I believe in that. And that's why I said this party is morally and intellectually corrupt. Because look, they're like the liberals. And during a campaign for the leadership, now they're conservative. But after that, they're back and they're like liberals. That's the Conservative Party. That party is intellectually and morally corrupt. So, and that platform that I ran on during that leadership was very popular. So we used that to create the PPC. And now we are doing politics differently based on ideas, and we're not afraid to put our solutions forward. But Pierre is doing a good campaign. He's saying the right thing, the right buzzword. But look a little bit deeper, and you'll see that there's nothing there.
Yeah. One thing that he has taken from us is he's been talking a lot about defunding the CBC. You know who else said that during the leadership campaign? Yeah. Aaron O'Toole. And how did that play into the general election? Oh, it became all complicated. Oh, I'll put money here, I'll put money there. Nope.
Yeah, but also I'll be curious if you can say the same thing in French in Quebec. I was in New Brunswick, and I said in French over there in Moncton that we need to be less generous for the equalization formula. And the half of the budget, half of the New Brunswick provincial budget, it's money coming from Ottawa from the equalization formula. When I said that, and I'm still saying that, that means that the budget in New Brunswick will be cut by half. So he doesn't have the courage to go there and tell them that. I said, yes, it will be that, but we'll do that on a transitionary period, and you'll be able to create wealth, and you'll be more productive, and you'll have to have policies that will encourage the private sector. You'll have more wealth, more productivity, and you'll raise more revenues. So that's the solution. You need to speak about that. But I doubt that Pierre Poilievre or any other contestant for the leadership will have the courage to say that.
Yeah. You can get the knockoff Maxim, or you can get the real thing right here. Do we have some other questions? Kyler Brown on YouTube asks, "What is your opinion on Bitcoin? Adding Bitcoin to the Canadian balance sheet?"
Yeah, no, I'm not against that. I said in the past that I'm for a gold standard, but it won't happen tomorrow. But I believe that we must have more competition with our fiat money. And we have fiat money right now. So more competition is always good. And I hope that Bitcoin can be that competition also. So I'm open to that. And actually, I can tell you, we are looking right now as a political party to be able to accept donation with crypto money. So I don't know it will be doable or not, but we are looking at that. And if we are able to do that, we'll do it.
Yeah, we have some exciting announcements regarding cryptocurrency coming soon. Do we have some other questions? Mike A on YouTube asks, "Would Max/PPC be willing to add electoral reform to their platform to help make Canadian elections more fair for all the provinces and territories?"
Yeah, you're right that we don't have that in our platform. I'm open to that. If we had that system, I believe that we will have been able to have maybe 10 candidates elected. So it's something that we will look at. I'm not against it. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah, we got roughly 5% in the last election. I believe that would be about 15 to 20 members of parliament in the House. And I think the House of Commons would be better with some purple in it.
I believe so, yeah.
Do we have some other questions? Kevin Taylor again on Facebook asks, "What would you do in regards to state-run media, the CBC, and I guess let's include the multi-million-dollar bailout?"
Yeah, like I said, we need to balance the budget. The way to do that is to cut, and we can save $1.2 billion by cutting the CBC, and I'm serious about that. Also, the money that the federal government gave to the mainstream media, we can save another $500 million. So we want the media to be independent from the government, not dependent. Now they are dependent, they're receiving money. So if CBC or CTV, they're so good, they will be able to have money from their viewers. It's like us as a political party. If we are not good, you won't give money to us. So, that's the free market. So I don't believe in subsidies to the media. We will cut all the subsidies that the federal government is giving to the mainstream media. And it will be a fair competition. It will be a fair competition against the alternative media, the independent media. They don't receive any money from the federal government, and they're very efficient. So we need to have more independent media.
Yeah. The mainstream media has failed to adapt to the new kind of technological landscape. And it really is the job of the media to hold the government to account, not to take dollars and mess things up. But we do have a question from our supporters on Rumble. Great to see. I want to see more questions coming through Rumble. Maxim, can you confirm? The weekly WEF question. Maxim, can you confirm your involvement with the World Economic Forum? I want to ensure you don't pull an Aaron O'Toole in full woke reversal.
No. I'm not part of that organization. I don't believe in that organization. I don't support that organization. I must tell you that I was there in 2008 because at that time I was foreign affairs minister. And remember, we were in Afghanistan, and our Canadian forces, they didn't have at that time, and they still don't have the tools to fight. And I was asking other foreign affairs ministers, and I had a couple of meetings with foreign affairs ministers to ask them to help us in Afghanistan, in Kandahar. And that was very efficient for me because all these foreign affairs ministers were there at the same time. So I had meeting with them. I did not assist. I didn't see anything at that conference. I was there to have meeting with them, and after that I left. So I don't support that organization. It's a socialist organization. They think that they know better than you. They want to impose their globalist agenda. We are the only national political party against globalism. Ask that to Pierre Poilievre, or ask that to Jean Charest. What are they going to say about that? We want to keep our country sovereign, and we are fighting for Canada first, not for the UN or not for the World Economic Forum.
Yeah. Pierre's campaign chair is John Baird, one of the more prominent members of the WEF over there. I think Klaus Schwab is scared of us. Not only does he not communicate us, we don't have any candidates with any affiliation with the WEF, and we wouldn't want any.
Yeah.
We do have another question on Rumble. Max, the way I see it, the problem is our government is severely lacking accountability. Why do you think that is? How do you think we can fix it? Good luck and thanks for everything you do. Thank you.
But it's not only, it's accountability that's important, but it's not only that. We have a government that is not following the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, and the government is not following that. We have a government that spends money that we don't have. We have a government in Ottawa that think that they know better. And yes, we have a prime minister that is not following the law. Personally, the ethic legislation at the federal level. So that's a big problem. And actually, yes, they must be accountable, and they must respect taxpayers, respect the Constitution. But we have that government. That's why we need to do a kind of ideological revolution in this country. And that's why we exist. That's why we are there. And I believe that our future is bright, from 0% in 2018 to 1.6% in 2019 to 5% in 2021. And we are the fastest growing political party. And, we were the winner. We were the winner of the last election. We increased our percentage of the vote. The Conservative, the Liberals, the Bloc, everybody lost support. And we increased our support during the last election. And I count on you to do the same at the next one. And that's the way to win that battle of ideas.
Yeah. The best thing we can do to hold this government to account is elect a batch of purple MPs to keep their feet to the fire. Do we have a couple more questions? John Shaw on YouTube. Question: do you foresee any CPC conservatives trying to join the PPC as you gain traction in the next couple of elections? Would they be welcome?
They're welcome if they believe in our platform. We won't change. We had the same platform in 2019. That was the same in 2021, and that will be the same at the next general election. We will update our platform, but it's the same principles and the same ideas. So if they believe in that, they will come. But I don't know what will happen. But yes, the only condition is this is our platform. You agree with it, you will come. You don't like it, stay with the Conservative or another globalist political parties.
Excellent. Do we have some other questions? Ricotta Master 78 on YouTube asks, Max, have you seen the new Batman movie?
No, I didn't have time. Maybe I will. Is it a good one? Did you?
I haven't seen it either, but I have only heard good things.
So I will
On
actually,
Ricotta
it's
Master's
good.
advice.
I can go to a theater, so I'll be able to see it, but I cannot be in a plane. I'm too dangerous in a plane.
Yeah, exactly. Do we have another question? Della Robertson on Facebook asks, "What do you think about Bill C-11? That's the rebranded internet censorship bill."
Yeah, it's censorship. This bill must not pass, and it's a government control, bureaucrats control over what you want to do on social media. So I'm 100% against that bill, like I was against the bill C10, like you said, Danielle. It's the same bill with the same ideas.
Yeah. It doesn't take much time to figure out. Just go to some liberal ministers' social media profiles, and you can see what they're calling disinformation. The type of stuff that they want to censor is just ideas from the other side. It's
Yeah, when you have a politician that is saying there's too much disinformation, that's censorship. If you don't like what I'm saying, just don't read me, don't listen to me. I have the right to say what I believe, and that's it. But these liberals and NDPs and maybe some conservatives believe that you don't have the right to say everything that you believe in. No, that's censorship. We must not support that bill.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take one last question. John Smoth on YouTube asks, "What are your plans for firearm laws in Canada?"
Yeah, I will ask you, John, to go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, read our platform there. It's comprehensive, it's simple. The goal is for us, gun owners are not criminals. And you must have the right to have a gun when you respect the legislation. But we will abolish the new
Order in Canada.
register that the federal government is creating right now. So go on our website, People's Party of Canada, read our platform. It's all about looking at you as a responsible citizen, and so that's the most important. We must not judge guns by their look, and that's part of our platform also.
Yeah. We must repeal that order in council introduced last year that
Yeah.
restricts guns based off of how scary they look. Apparently, the prime minister can do blackface, but once guns do it, it's not acceptable. On that note, I think it's a good place to wrap up our episode for today. As one final reminder, if you can interact with this video, like, share, retweet, subscribe to the channel. If you're on YouTube, hit that bell notification so you know whenever we're going live. Anything that you can do there helps us big time to get around the censorship algorithms. But most importantly, move over to those pro free speech platforms, Rumble, Odyssey. Those social medias they're the good guys, and we don't know how long we'll be on platforms like YouTube and Facebook before that censorship bat hits us. But most importantly, as it says on the screen now, head over to our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. Sign up for our email list, become a member, make a small donation if you can. Anything you can do is a big help for us, and that's the best way to stay apprised on what's going on with the party. Becoming a member, that's how you get involved. Sign up as a volunteer. Every extra hand helps. We're a party made up of people that are regular people like you. Most people that are involved, myself included, didn't have a big history in party politics before getting involved in the PPC. So if you think that might not be for you, there's a lot more people just like you out there. Get involved. It starts with you. So thanks for joining me tonight, Maxime. It was fun to get to talk again. We'll be back not next week, but the week after, April 28th. And I think you'll be here in the office together. We'll be here and not remote. So that'll be fun too.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Thank you, Danielle. Yeah. And I like to have do that show with you. So, and I want to say to our viewers, stay strong and free. We need you. We need you to be able to help us, and we will help you to win that battle of ideas. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Danielle. See you in 2 weeks.
One step at a time. He's Maxime Bernier. I'm Daniel Tyree. Have a great night.
Thank you.